Hello, Mama's Fallen Angels. This is Big Robbo, and I am here with Bruce Kulick. And Mr. Kulick, at the moment, has a lot of irons in the fire, as most of us know. I'm going to start with one of the most recent irons he has in the fire, and that is the new album BK3, which will be released on the 29th, which, of course, is this Friday. A lot of guest artists on this record. It's been great. I've listened to some tracks today on the website, and we're going to link to those as well. I saw in another interview, Bruce, that you expressed your approach to this record as no compromise. I was wondering if you could tell our readers and listeners a little bit about that no compromise approach that you took on this record and what that means to you.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to give you the exact info, since I'm a detail guy, that I know you're basically the internet is worldwide, of course, but the record's released. What's interesting is I licensed the BK3 actually to two different companies, one that covers the rest of the world and one that covers North America.
Is that Frontiers the 24?
Yep, the Frontiers would be the 29th, which would be Friday, yes. And then Rocket Science, which is North America, the U.S., and Canada, is actually on they always release on a Tuesday, the American labels. You see what I mean? So it's just a few days apart, but technically, like if you're going to do iTunes or some of the places like in America, like a Best Buy, that more than 600 of the stores are going to carry it, that would be, look for it on the 2nd, not the Friday. Okay, is what I mean.
Thanks for
clearing that up. And I'm not sure exactly how, with Frontiers controlling so many countries in Europe, I have no clue how they deal with that, but I've been doing a lot of publicity for all that.
Right.
But getting back to I'm sorry?
They're Italian-based, right?
Yeah, they're from Italy, but they license with, I'm working a lot with the German promoter because they know Germany is a great market for this. And I've talked to, doing some stuff for Spain tomorrow. And of course I've talked to, I spent a whole day on the phone with France. I was very impressed. The first time I've ever done interviews with France, and obviously, some of those German, magazines and internet stuff deal with some of the other countries right around there. So I've done some stuff for Switzerland too, and the UK. I did some radio for the UK.
When I said Bruce was busy, I wasn't lying, folks. He's all over the world.
Oh, it's been crazy. Classic Rock, I did a big interview for them, and that should be out in sometime probably next month. That's a great magazine too. But getting back to your real question about the compromise thing, I wanted this record to be, really represent a real evolution of, my solo work, and that was going to take, obviously, a real commitment to, maybe more time and money and have that ability of being more critical of it. And I have to give some of that credit, of course, to Jeremy Rubelino, my producer, who, we had a benchmark, and it was more like the Revenge album than Audio Dog or Transformer, if you get what I mean. So that took a lot of, some things had to be done more than once, and the no compromise approach, really, there was a lot of kicking and screaming at times, if you know what I mean. But I really feel like it was worth all the turmoil to make it great and have the result that I have.
Yeah, and I've seen several critics have compared it to the Revenge album. You yourself have compared it several times to the Revenge album. That, in your words too, you said this, Bruce, that is the best non-makeup Kiss album, and I feel like personally it's one of the best Kiss albums, period. The album does sound a lot like that, and that's actually a really good sign.
Mm-hmm. Well, the key elements, again, I do have Gene on one song and his son Nick, but the thing about Revenge that I thought represented a very, very strong Kiss, record was the fact that the production was really great, and I have to thank Bob Ezrin, and certainly Jeremy and I are big fans of his, and we were going for that, that kind of a lot of guitar harmonies and interesting parts, and the vocals should be creative, and sonically it had to be really big, so we used better engineers than I've used before for the new record, and I would say that Revenge represents no weak tracks on that record. Everything is it's got its place, and it was the best of what the band had to offer, and that's what BK3 had to do too. The material had to be up to snuff, so there was just every attention to detail.
Right. And I wanted to talk about the guest artists you just mentioned, of course, Gene and Nick. Several folks. He's got several guest artists on here. Eric Singer as well, John Corabi, Tobias Sammet, I hope I'm saying that right, from Ed Guy, which, of course, is one of the bands that we push a lot around here.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all those big movers and shakers in our brand of rock and roll, Bruce, want to talk the most about Nick Simmons. The first single is Hand of the King, and that, of course, is the single that Nick sings on. When you first see this, it would be easy to say, okay, it's Gene's son and Bruce's relationship with Kiss, but the kid has really got the chops. I mean, talk a little bit about his development and what you thought of him as a vocalist.
Well, certainly when Gene offered Nick up to me about being on my record, I realized that, well, this is nice. On my dime, I could take him into a real studio, you know what I mean, and give him that experience of recording. I'd still approach the studio as much as using Pro Tools. I'm still approaching it, though, very much like Kiss going in the studio. I'm not trying to do it in my bedroom, is what I'm saying. And I think first it started with choosing the song. So we got to Jeremy and I sat with him and listened to what he was into. And the next thing I know, I was very impressed with the eclectic choice of kind of bluesy, kind of quirky blues rock stuff that he was into. And then obviously I was really hoping that he would be real happy with some of the songs that were left over that we didn't know who would sing.
Right.
When I say leftover, I mean didn't have a home yet in the sense of who would be the featured singer, because I knew it wasn't good for me to sing.
Right.
And he gravitated right away to the track that was to become Hand of the King. And I got to say that I think he came up with some really creative lyrics. He comes from that style of he's really into the graphic novel, Magna, comic book world. And then, I just think that he created a nice imagery for the lyrics, and then he's got that big blues voice. So I thought it was a real good combination. I think it really, brought something special to the record.
Yeah, and I think that with the guitar in the song, Bruce, it gives it kind of, like you said, kind of like that graphic novel. It kind of gives it like a dark underground feel. It's a really good song.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem. Track 5, I know my heart skipped a beat on a day back in 2003, and I know a lot of your fans obviously did too. Track 5 is I'll Survive. We, of course, know what we're talking about here, Bruce, and a lot of your fans that are going to read and listen to this interview do too, but some fans might not. Can you tell us a little bit about where that song came from?
Well, it was a very freaky thing that happened. I went to see my friend Brent Fitz, the drummer who was backing up Vince Neil then, and, he was playing the Key Club, which is a popular venue on the Sunset Strip. And we were just leaving. It was probably about 1:30 in the morning, and I'm walking with a friend of mine down the street, and all of a sudden we hear these